Hi guys, and welcome back to the Academy of Historical Fencing. Now, reverse grip cutting is all the rage in the movies and the TV series right now, although it actually goes back a lot further than that. So if you're a fan of things like 1982 Conan the Barbarian, you're going to see reverse grip action in there. Now, it's something that in European swordsmanship is quite a rarity, a massive rarity. So first of all, I'm going to explain what it is, and then why, and then show some test cutting, just for a bit of fun with some bottles. Now, normally when you hold a sword, the blade projects up in front of us like this, the natural way to hold a sword or pretty much anything you're going to actually cut with. So reverse grip is when you then change so that the blade goes point spacing naturally downwards, if you like. And anybody that does much in terms of European martial arts will be familiar with this kind of grip for dagger combat, which is where it's quite common, and we would call it often a pit grip or reverse grip. But as far as swordsmanship goes, super rare. But it's common in the movies, it's common in TV series, and there is some there are some examples of it in Eastern swordsmanship using sort of katanas and stuff like that. So there are examples of it out there in the world as being a legit technique. It's just a rarity in European swordsmanship. But it's still fascinating, so we're going to have a bit of a play with it, see what it's like. Now, they do it in the movies because it looks cool. You know, you can get big sweeping arcing movements as basically characters, you know, sort of ride their way past, not literally ride, but sort of rise up and sort of, you know, deliver some uppercut to the body kind of thing, that kind of stuff. It looks flashy. It's good for close-in combats, which actually is something worth mentioning. So I'm here using a British Napoleonic era antique sword, but it's based on a Shamshi or a Mamluk sword. So they're always typically flat, unfulled, short, quite curved, and they're designed for close-in fighting, and a lot of the techniques using them involves close-in strikes and slashes, which is completely at odds with what we do in British military swordsmanship, which again makes it fascinating. So I've chosen the sword that is kind of suited to close-in fighting, and I'm going to do some reverse grip strikes with it. Okay? So, after doing that cutting test, what do I think? I think it's quite fascinating. Now, why would you necessarily do reverse grip? Well, there are convenient moments where the sword might be in that position for whatever reason, you're holding it in a certain way. It's suited to certain close quarter actions because it does shorten your reach. Instinctively, when we use a saber-like weapon, we can get massive reach by using the angle of the wrist and the body mechanics to do this. When we go into reverse grip, it's much harder to use the full reach of the sword. So when you cut with reverse grip, you do cut with a reduced reach, and British military swordsmanship is all about that reach. And you also don't have the blade and the guard in the natural places you'd expect them to be and want them to be for defence, which is also vital. So that's why, you know, it would be quite an oddity for British military swordsmanship, but it's a really fun thing to look at. How did I find it? Well, actually cutting with it was remarkably easy. So I messed up a few of the edge alignments on a couple of them, mainly actually the descending cuts. They're a little bit more difficult to get right, whereas I found horizontal and ascending cuts actually remarkably simple to do. Now, these are bottles, not any realistic targets, so it doesn't say this is going to cut an arm off. It's just a fascinating look at what's reverse grip cutting like? Is it effective? Can you get edge alignment and all these things? And the answer is yes. It's a lot of fun as well. But if you're going to go and do it at home, just bear in mind it's very different to what you're normally doing. and test cutting, you know, it can be dangerous. So the blade is going to be going in all different angles and positions that you're not expecting. So don't cut yourself, basically. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already.